Good evening, YouTube. This is Kaylin Stern coming at you with my regular Sunday night dinner. And tonight, going back to 2005. This US MRE was packed by Sapaco. Sometimes they ink stamped as opposed to impressing a number into the bag itself. Got Empos and spicy tuna rolls here so far. Thanks for dropping in. I don't know the storage condition of this, but I figured, what the heck, I've never had too many this old, and I'm definitely interested in this. The only other Tetrazzini that has ever been in a US ration would be the MCW Turkey Tetrazzini, and I just happen to have a single one of these. It was just in a box of other things that I got from a guy I bought stuff off before, but I just wanted to bring this out to show you that Turkey Tetrazzini has been in the MCW, and this one happens to be a 21 pack. Mama Styles is here. Thanks for dropping in. So I have backup plans in case some of the items in here are not usable. I have an alternate main. These bags are a whole lot thicker than they are now, but I just put my finger through the bag. Yeah, this one was sealed a little bit too well, but I just went ahead and took a blade to it. Right off the top is the accessory pack. Accessory pack C. Flameless ration heater, which I will not use, but I store all these, even these older ones, because I never know when I may need to heat something up that I can fit inside it or wrap this around without doing any actual cooking. Got the beverage bag. Not the same quality as the Canadian ones. And this is a dairy shake, the strawberry. This might be in the lot that was recalled, so I'm not going to even take any chances with this. I have never seen this particular package style before. This is 2005. And then this is a chicken Tetrazzini main inside of a box. These boxes are stopped several years after this. says cookies with pan-coated chocolate discs, and other it's M&Ms. Back in the day, we used to call them monster cookies because they would be made that big. And here is a spoon. Grape jelly, CT's favorite. No peanut butter, but standard crackers. And the label Texas almost ran off the side here. And that is it for everything in the bag. This dairy shake, there's a lot of powder in here. As I said, that one is not even going to get open because of that recall issue. Go ahead and open this up, see what's in here. Back then, the matches were dark green. This is the wet wipes that were used back then. A Lighthouse rear roll. A packet of salt, which if I were to use that FRH, I would be dropping that salt in there. Then salt-free seasoning. And cinnamon gum. Remember, the cinnamon gum always has the red on one side. This is very, very yellowed. You can see that compared to the white of the seasoning packet, how dark that is. And then a spiced cider. Feels pretty loose. So that will go into the drinking jar. All these other things I'm just going to put aside. If this cider would not have been drinkable, then I would have gone to my plan B. Oops, wrong. So that will go into... So I'll make this as a hot drink because these are usually prepared hot. So instead of the dairy shake, which I have no confidence in that whatsoever, I have an orange drink that I'm going to open up that came from a German ration. All of my trash is going into the MRE bag. These normally call for 500 mils of water, but I like to mix these up a bit stronger. I'm going to go ahead and take the main out of the box. So this pouch looks very, very good. Back then, the tear notches went across this way instead of this way like they do now. I'm going to go ahead and put this in water to heat that up, and then I got water for the cider. But if this is not edible, I do have a backup plan. The closest equivalent to a chicken and noodle dish that I have as far as ration items is this MRE Star chicken noodle stew. I just took the kettle back into the kitchen just to get it away from here. I'm going to move this over a little bit just to get this more. There we go. Actually, I could probably... Yeah, that's a little better. It smells like a slightly spiced cider. Probably not overly strong. There's not a whole lot to this particular ration. There's just the crackers. Again, no peanut butter. I don't know if that was an oops on their part. Maybe that's why the dairy shake was in there, to add calories. There's the Carlos Perry in the house. Thanks for dropping in. I'll go ahead and open up this cookie. That came out in one piece. And they did stick an oxygen absorber in there. And this is menu 21 from 2005. Let's see what we get on this. There was a nice hiss. Let's see how well these held up. Sometimes these were known for sticking too much to the inside of the packet that they would break. I'm going to give my orange drink another stir. Well, we all have a life like that. It's just the way it goes. And it doesn't always happen like that on a Monday. You get that any day of the week these days. I'm just going to add another little dribble of water in here. There, that'll do. I guess you'll just have to maybe take an early nap and then get up at 3 a.m. and do it. If you can get away with that. I'm going to go ahead and go get the chicken tetrazzini out of the water, and we'll see if that is fine. And if that's not too good, I'll toss this in and heat it up. So I'll keep that water boiling, just in case the chicken tetrazzini is not edible. I am back. I'm going to go take this lid back to the kitchen. Now I'm starting to hear a little bit of delamination. There's prep poured in the house. Thanks for dropping in. Well, that's not gonna want to tear open, so I'm just gonna cut it open. Let's see what this looks like. It kind of looks like the turkey tetrazzini. You would find in the Mountain House freeze-dried version. But a lot thinner. It's more of a gravy than a thin gravy. But there are definitely mushrooms in there, red bell pepper, it actually smells like it could be edible. See, there's green bell pepper, a little test nibble. No, I'm not getting any weird sensations in my mouth. None of that numb feeling. It just tastes like it's been in that pouch for all these years. Big piece of mushroom there. So if you don't like mushrooms, you probably wouldn't want to try this. But I happen to like mushrooms. But as usual, the pasta in these is very, very soft. I just use basic spaghetti noodles for this. Now let's check out a piece of this 2005 cracker to see how it is. Sorry, my tray seems to have warped, so it kind of likes to spin. Well, this cracker tastes pretty darn good, actually, for an MRE cracker. I'm going to put a few bits of it into the Tetrazzini to give it a little texture. I think it just needs a little something with a little substance in it. We'll see what that does. That does definitely help. Yep, exactly. I mean, MREs should not be all of your emergency food storage, but they can be a part of it. That's a look at the grape jelly. It does run a little bit. But that is still perfectly fine jelly. This is the apple cider. It definitely tastes like a spiced cider. It may be missing a spice that some people would like to add to it when they do their own spiced ciders. This does have a bit of tang to it, most likely because of the mushrooms. The mushroom flavor might be too strong for some people if they don't like it. And as I said, if you don't like mushrooms, you don't want to be messing with this one. Yeah, it does. Oh, there's Beth in the house. Thanks for dropping in. See, because... See, then... I don't know how well you'll be able to read this. This is very lightly printed. This has 270 calories. $19 grams of total carb in the chicken tetrazzini. The cookie wrapping should be a lot easier to read. I'll just have to hold it to get the light 290 in the cookie. Let's see. Sorry, it's hard to focus on that sometimes up close. 39 grams of carb in the cookie. The crackers will obviously have less because it has so few ingredients compared to the cookie. But this dairy shake, $450 calories in the dairy shake. Yeah, 51 carbs in that. So that kind of gives you an idea where you get a good share of the calories from in this one. Yeah, 75 calories in the grape jelly. So I'm going to have a few more of those calories right now. Wow, my chat froze up for a bit. These rations will vary widely as far as calories, but depending on when these rations were produced, they can range from 900 to 1300 or so per MRE. The brown bag ones may have had fewer calories in them because the early ones, the entrees were not as big. They used to be like 4 to 5 ounces. Now they're 8. You may not have gotten a side in some of them, or it may have been a small amount. So there's always development going on, testing. Steve 1989 sometimes has been able to get a hold of prototype rations that are in the testing phase before they either get into more widespread testing or go into full-scale production. But I'm sure he has to pay a pretty penny and maybe pull a favor in order to get those. I'm going to go ahead and take a test nibble of just the cookie portion. The chocolate definitely permeates because some of the M&Ms would have broken open during mixing. So the chocolate does permeate the cookie itself. There, I just bit off the orange coating of one of them so you can see the chocolate inside. But that has held up very well. I'm very happy to see that. Yeah, it does. It kind of looks like it may have had some ingredient. Then again, the color could have come off of the different colors that are in, I'll just call them M&Ms because that's basically what they are. It could have come off of some of them, especially the red, orange, yellow, and the brown ones during the process of mixing and baking. But this is a very good cookie. Nothing wrong with that one at all. In fact, I think the flavor is a little bit better than the current chocolate chip and chocolate chunk cookies that are being used. Just for the heck of it. I bet when this one was very fresh, hot off the line, issued to the soldier in the field, he or she probably would have enjoyed it, if they liked this kind of a dish. If I get another one of these, I would love to do a direct comparison between that and this turkey tetrazzini. Of course, this would make probably 3 times the amount of food. I mean, this is by itself is almost 5 ounces dry. But I don't know if I'll ever get that chance to do a direct comparison between another one of these chicken tetrazzinis and a Mountain House turkey tetrazzini. I think that would be interesting to do. The taste, there's a slight tang to it. The mushroom flavor definitely dominates. There's not a whole lot of other seasoning flavor in it. There's a tiny bit from the red and green bell pepper, but personally I think it could use some garlic, maybe a bit more onion, and some black pepper. I'm sure there's some of that in here, but for my personal taste, I think it could use a little bit more of that and maybe a little bit more of an Italian seasoning in here, since this is an Italian inspired dish. Now this is the contents of the salt-free seasoning packet. It says onion, garlic, spices, doesn't say what, carrot, orange peel. That would give it a slight bit of sweetness. Parsley, tomato, red bell pepper, citric acid, soybean oil, I'm not a fan of that. Natural flavors, doesn't say what that. Maltodextrin and lemon juice solids. That would give it a little tang. But no black pepper. But considering that this is from 2005, almost 20 years old, it's actually not too bad. As I said earlier, it does taste like it has been in a pouch for that long. But I will have no issues with finishing this off. I think this could also do with a bit of Parmesan cheese. I think that would be a nice addition as well. I think that would be something that would be fun to see in a U.S. ration, would be some Parmesan cheese powder. Yeah, this German orange drink, personally, I think it complements this. I would like to see a newer version of this come back, just to see what the packers would do to it to change the recipe, maybe improve it. That's a good one. This would be the closest to a side that you will get in this one. But I'm surprised at how well these crackers have held up. They're not as brittle. It takes a little bit more to break one of these. Than the current crackers, which I do like. Of course, they don't have anywhere near the flavor that the original MRE crackers had, the ones that were a little bit more toasted with malted barley and actual salt on them. Yeah, exactly. And this is freeze dried. So almost all of the ingredients that go into something like this are freeze dried. Maybe just heat dehydrated, depending on what that particular ingredient is, but those veggies can be freeze dried. You can powder them if you do it yourself, or if you buy already freeze dried veggies, you can open up the can or the pouch, take them out, powder them, repack them for whatever you want to do with them. Now you won't be able to hear it, but people have been shooting off fireworks all afternoon, and the bigger ones, not just individual firecrackers. They're blowing off bigger firecrackers, fireworks, in the park and on the nearby streets. They've been doing it here pretty much all month, but they've been only doing it at night so far. Now they're getting more brazen and doing it in the middle of the day. There's Shadow Scout Sweet in the house. Thanks for dropping in. From 2005, 229th day of 2005. Menu 21 as it was back then. So considering its age, I have a feeling this one was stored very well in a cool place that is low moisture, dark. So it has held up very well. The only item I'm not going to drink is this strawberry dairy shake, because these shakes were recalled. There's I think the MRE info site has a list of the lots and date codes that these dairy shakes were recalled, and I think some of them were from 2005. This is packed by a company called Transpackers Services. Out of Brooklyn, New York. So because of that recall, I'm not going to open this one. But this would have been one of the early large capacity drink pouches that have no way to seal it. So there's a tear notch right there. it would have been better to put it into a bottle that you can reclose in order to shake it up. So that one is not going to be open because I'm just not going to take any risks with that. So to replace that, I have this German orange drink. And I'm glad that it looks closer to the color of real orange juice. Give it another stir just to take care of any powder that it still hasn't dissolved. You would normally mix it with 500 mils of water, which is a little over 2 cups, but I like to mix these a little bit strong because I want the full flavor. And then the hot drink for this is a spiced apple cider, which is very good. It came from a German ration. The packet is written in German. That's the only way that that's all it is the packet came from a German ration. So it's written in German. The flavor is a lot better than an American orange drink, and the color's a lot better too. But this cider is a spiced, probably not quite a mulled cider. I think it lacks a couple of ingredients to make it a mulled cider. I'm not getting any orange flavor. But these old cider drinks are very good. They're meant to be prepared hot, so I did it that way. But had this not been drinkable, or at least mixable, then I would have gone to one of my Polish herbal teas. I had this on standby, this Polish herbal tea with lemon. And had the chicken tetrazzini not been edible, this chicken noodle stew from MRE Star would have gone into the pot. So I left the water boiling just in case that would have been the case, and I dumped the rest of the water that was in my kettle into the pot that I used to heat this up. These Polish herbal teas are very good. So this happens to be the lemon herbal tea. Because it's silver, it's hard to get a good focus on it. C'est limon tea. And herbati means herbal. I really need to learn more Polski. But I really do like those Polish drinks. But those would have been my backup plans. This grape jelly is pretty runny. It's not excessively sweet like some grape jellies can be. And it has started to turn brown, but I really don't care about that. It's still good to me. I'm going to finish that whole packet off. I almost thought about preparing this, but this would have taken a lot longer than just heating up another retort pouch. So, but I wanted to have this out to show that this is not the only Tetrazzini that has been around the U.S. ration block, so to speak. But I do like that Mountain House Turkey Tetrazzini. I don't know if that one will make an appearance in a ration mashup stream, or if I'll simply put it in my camping food bag. But I do like that Mountain House Turkey Tetrazzini. They put a little bit more flavor and seasoning than this chicken Tetrazzini has. Of course, you get a little bit different flavor from turkey being in it because it has a different flavor than chicken. Here you go, DeCarlos. There's your tea. Might be hard for me to upload. Guess you'll have to get your own because they're closer to your kitchen. Now, next Sunday I will be streaming because the event that I thought that would take place next Sunday is actually going to be Saturday. So It's going to be an afternoon into evening one. It's another party that is sponsored by my mosque and 2 other mosques in the city. And we're doing it at a school because that has a much larger area where we can set up the different play areas for kids than an individual mosque parking lot. I know the parking lot for my mosque is very small, but our board is looking into trying to buy an adjacent property, or at least a small bit of land where we can extend the parking lot, because our space is limited. And when we have a full house, so to speak, there's not enough room for everybody to park. Street parking and parking in the far side of the strip mall lot becomes necessary. There are a couple other places that people can park on the opposite side of the street, but those are not large areas either. So, and that will be a big fundraiser to try to acquire an additional small piece of land. We own the building outright. The loan was paid off in 5 years. And that happened in like 2012 or 2013, that was paid off. So next Sunday I will be live. I may go back to doing what I've done before with some of my rations. Although I only have one vegetarian ration. The rest all have some kind of meat in it. I have the MCW seafood chowder. Some people don't like that, or they may not be able to eat it because of some of the seafood ingredients, but I love that seafood chowder. But I have the Norwegian Arctic Field Ration pasta bolognese. There is Nation MRE Finds in the house. Thanks for dropping in. From 2025, or 2005, sorry. An oldie and a goodie. And I just finished off the chicken Tetrazzini. So this is packed by Sapaco. Joseph in the house, thanks for dropping in. The only item in this ration that I'm not going to open up at all, besides the stuff that was in the accessory pack, is this strawberry dairy shake. Because the particular production date of this one might be included in that recall lot. But this is a big bag. It's as tall or as long as the tortilla package. And the powder is a third of the way up the bag. So quite a number of these dairy shakes were recalled because of a contamination issue. So that's why I'm not bothering to even open this. But in case some of these items were edible, I had backup plans. So one of my backup plans is a different drink. This is an orange drink that came out of a German ration. Tastes a whole lot better than an American orange drink. There is Mike Kreischer in the house. Thanks for dropping in. But I brought in, not to be prepared though, but just, this is the turkey tetrazzini that you get in an MCW, Meal Cold Weather. This is a loose item in a box of stuff I bought off of, I think I got this one off of Nicholas Sklo, the guy who has the Killing Zombies channel. Yeah, I believe I got this off of him, but I just wanted to bring this in here just to show that this is not the only tetrazzini that's been in an American ration. And in case that wasn't edible, I have this MRE Star chicken noodle stew that would have been tossed into the pot. And even though this is a 21 pack date, MRE Star puts the notches, the tear notches across this way as opposed to this way like Sapaco would do now. So I brought that in as a backup. And this is a spice cider in my mug from Delicious. By the way, he put up a video today on what for us would be an extremely difficult ration to get a hold of here in the US. You'll have to go check his channel out to see what that is, but just in case a cider or whatever hot drink wouldn't have been usable, I brought in a Polish lemon herbal tea. But I don't have to go to that, so I'll save that for another day. But this is what we used to call back in the 80s and 90s monster cookie, huge cookie with M&Ms in it. Oh, awesome. That is a ration I would love to get my paws on. Those things are loaded. Same with the Dutch ration. Those things are loaded. Grape jelly. Oh, wow, Mike. I do hope that they are not rated. I tried to buy a Dutch ration off of eBay, but for some reason it would not accept my payment. Not that my debit card didn't have sufficient funds for it. It's just that it was just not allowed. Same happened when I tried to buy a newer German EPA that comes in a bag that is similar in color to this, or maybe closer to the color of the new Canadian IMP bags. So I had to tell the sellers of both of those that my payment was just not allowed. Not that it was not accepted because of inability to transfer funds, but it just not allowed. So they understood that and canceled the orders. And I apologize to them, telling them that I really, really wanted to get these, but because of these issues with some sellers' payment systems, if they don't use PayPal for eBay sales, and because eBay and PayPal are not linked like they once were, a buyer may use a different system to complete the transaction. If PayPal is not an option, or if for some reason just a foreign card is not even allowed to be processed. That was the last piece of cracker that I put that grape jelly on. Yeah, it's just harder for us here in the U.S. to get foreign rations unless someone already has them inside the U.S. Like that Canadian IMP, the Indian chicken that I got. The seller is a U.S. based seller, and the ration was already in the U.S., so I didn't have to worry about it getting raided. For a newer Canadian menu, that one was actually not too bad. It would have been nice to have a little bit more texture, something with a little bit more chew to it. It would have been great to have it over rice. Oh wow, Shadow, I really hope you get some nice fish. I would do more fishing here, but because I don't drive, I can't get away from the downtown area to a place where I can fish without the risk of running into junk in the water. The last time I tried to fish the river here, I thought I was in a safe area, but I lost 2 lures that I put on because of the junk does in the water that I cannot see. So I had no idea what's down there, but after that, heck with this. It's just not worth fishing the river at the part where I live closest to. And last year, the water was so low, it would have been almost impossible to fish from a spot that I really wanted to try. Something that had not been there the previous time I tried to fish the river here. People used to fish from the downtown river bridges, but the city has cracked down on that. It don't matter if you got a license or not. They just don't want you fishing off the downtown river bridges. But there's just so much junk and debris in the water, and with the bridges being rebuilt, who knows what else is being put down there now. So I will just wait until I get to go to Lake Icaria at the end of next month to do any fishing. If I would have been able to get a ride to go to a county park to meet up with some other locals here, I would have gone there. But there's no lake or river nearby to fish at. But I was not offered a ride. No one even commented on my post saying that I would need a ride to go there. It's the same park where I go for the White Eagle Multicultural Powwow every September, but it would be a different area of the park that I would have been in this weekend. But I get a ride to Jester Park, that's the name of this county park, for that, because I hook up with another woman who also volunteers to do the kids' crafts, and she lines up most of the supplies. I may contribute a few things that I'm able to pack, but maybe in the fall I'll get to do another camp besides that. So when I go to the powwow, I camp there in the park, and last year I stayed in a teepee, and I have a video of that. A little bit of my setup in the teepee. Dang, I'm so glad this cookie held up well. This is a seriously good M&M cookie, or as we used to call them back in the day, a monster cookie, because we used to, at home when my mom would make them, they would be huge, or sometimes in stores you could buy them that were that big around or wider. Yeah, actually, if you put a magnet on the end of a strong line, like maybe number 36 or thicker bank line, and a very, very strong magnet, you could pull stuff out of the water with that. And there are YouTubers who do what they call magnet fishing. And they probably use an ocean fishing rod or some other contraption for pulling that line up, depending on what they got on the end of it. Yep, so, Shadow knows about that. So apparently, I guess it's an interesting hobby. I'll be right back. I'm going to shut that pot off before it boils dry. Well, it did pretty much boil dry, but at least it didn't make my smoke detector go off. Yeah, it does sound very interesting. The different kinds of things you can find. Yeah, either that or you hit on something that's so huge that you won't be able to pull it up without a crane. Then you just have to cut your losses and go home. And these matches D.D. Bean and Sons. The white tip, I have absolutely no idea what the match head color means, if anything. But I save all these matches. I keep them in a Ziploc bag to keep them dry. Because I never know when I might need to use them. It's a salt-free seasoning packet. Very loose powder inside. Iodized salt. Nothing wrong with that. Isn't 4 grams. .6 gram in that. I'll hold on to those. Cinnamon gum is definitely yellowed. And it looks like it's cracked. So this is showing its edge. This spoon will go into my collection of plastic spoons because these become my emergency utensil stash in case I have to severely restrict my water usage. Either because the city's water system is shut down or it's too contaminated to even use for cleaning, like or washing dishes. But because I do store water, I have that buffer. But I still save all these utensils and add them to my stash for that purpose, because you just never know. Like what happened in New Mexico, or there's a wildfire that turns out was deliberately set, and then that area got way more rain than they would usually get in a single storm and flooded that area. So several people there are now homeless. And they have to rely on emergency services and supplies. I have an aunt who lives in Arizona, so she did not have to deal with that, but she's always on the lookout for wildfires, especially since it's pretty hot. This beverage bag, again, I will save. I like to use these to put small items in that I want to keep dry. These do have measurement guides for the different drink types. And because I store water purification tablets, although this is not a liter capacity, I would still fill the bag, drop purification tablet in there, seal it up, let it sit the required amount of time, and then it would be, then I would, of course, I would filter any debris out before drinking it. I prefer the Canadian beverage bags because they're stronger. They have a gusset, whereas these don't, but still, I hold on to all these bags. Yeah, speaking of coffee, I was hoping to get a coffee out of this one, but I'm perfectly happy to get the spiced cider. Actually, wouldn't mind having a few more of these in my stash. Flameless ration heaters have not changed. For over 20 years, they're the same style, same look to the instructions. Same look to the heating element. That is a company that makes these. Or at least that made them in 2005. But yep, I hold on to those. Sometimes you can get the older FRH to kick off. Sometimes not, but I still like to keep them. If I had coffee, I would dunk this cookie in the coffee, but since I don't, I'll just finish it off just as it is. Still 88 degrees Fahrenheit here in Des Moines. Oh, sorry about that. We did get up to 90 degrees Fahrenheit here today. Tomorrow's supposed to get up to 98 Fahrenheit, so and then it's supposed to be in the 80s and low 90s for the next after that. focus back, even though there's nothing there, but, well, almost nothing there. We were supposed to have some rain yesterday. That didn't happen. We were supposed to have a little bit the day before. That didn't happen. Or if it did, it was very early in the morning, just enough to make everything damp, and that's it. So our rain chances here are pretty low. Last month we had a whole lot of rain. Northern Iowa did get too much rain, so they're dealing with flooding. And that Greenfield tornado that happened last month, that set a wind speed record for a U.S. tornado on any day. Yeah, suspicious observers mentioned that in his morning video. About how devastating that was as far as wind speed. It was over 300 miles an hour. That was the wind speed of that tornado that hit the town of Greenfield, Iowa. And that town is not too far from here. Actually, it could have been the Minden tornado, but either one of those two. Well, Minden being a smaller town, that took more damage than Greenfield, but both of those tornadoes are strong. But he mentioned an Iowa tornado that was clocked at over 300 miles an hour, the wind speed. Not the travel speed, but the wind speed of the tornado itself. Actually, I'll be very comfortable at 22 degrees shadow. I'll be outside and loving it. But it gets a little uncomfortable when it's up. Yeah, if you're cracking 35 shadow, and the humidity's right up there with the temperature, maybe 120%. Yeah. Yeah, that would be a little too much. Yeah, northeastern U.S. as well as the West Coast and Southwest. There is some serious heat going on there. And in northern Mexico, that is some serious heat going on there. In fact, some of their main crops, especially cilantro, that herb just got devastated by the heat and lack of rain in that part of Mexico where a lot of that is grown. So they are hurting for cilantro down there. Yeah, that I'm sure that would be, especially if you're in the northern part of the country. You would not want to be in certain parts of the U.S. right now. You would bake. You would be wanting to find the nearest commercial freezer and just crawl on in it. Yeah, it is. It is quite toasty. In the southern U.S., especially towards the Gulf, the humidity down there is extremely high. Yeah, I'm quite sensitive to heat as well, so that's why my AC is set pretty low. Yeah, I just have a window unit mounted into the wall. I have nothing but a tower fan in my bedroom. And with my ceiling fan and another fan dead because of the flood that happened on March 31st, I don't have those two fans to help move the air towards the bedroom. So it's not as cool in there as I would like. And of course, in the winter, this thing does heat as well, but I like it cooler for sleeping. So I don't run the baseboard heater that's in there. I never liked it to begin with. So if I want extra warmth at night, I'll just wear flannel pajamas and put my wool blanket on the bed. And there have been some days during the winter where I would turn the heater completely off, not run it at all. In the very first apartment that I lived in when I stopped sharing a house with other relatives because of some stuff that went on while I was away on a trip, and my room was used for something that I absolutely do not agree with, and my permission was not asked in advance. It was just allowed to happen while I was away. And so as soon as I could find an apartment, I moved out of there. Plus, the house that I was living in at the time was a mile from the nearest bus stop. So that made travel around the city extremely difficult. So that particular apartment sits on top of a parking garage, a parking ramp. And as you know, heat rises. So with vehicles moving in and out of there, and the way the heating system in there is set up, there are a lot of days where I did not have the heat on at all. And I was perfectly fine. And because that apartment faced west, I got that afternoon sun in the window, and that made it a whole lot warmer. Of course, during the summer, I would have that air conditioner really cranking like I do now, just to keep it cool. So that's one thing I like about living on the north side of the building. I don't have that sun, the heat from the sun being intensified by the windows. Oops, sorry, brief disconnect. Well, there is random MRE in the house. Thanks for dropping in. First time seeing you here. You're looking at the crumbs that used to be US MRE menu 21, packed in 2005. Back then, they sometimes ink stamped or printed. I think this is more of an ink stamp as opposed to a printing like this. That was done instead of impressing the date code into the plastic where you could actually see it. And this had the infamous strawberry dairy shake, and this may be in one of those lots of these dairy shakes that were recalled because of a contamination issue. That's why I did not open this one. Plus, I think the packaging for this is quite interesting. Powder goes, it fills 1/3 of this bag. So instead of that, for my drink, I have an orange drink that came from a German ration. Needs a bit of a stir again. But the flavor in this orange drink is so much better. It's almost natural. It has more of a natural flavor. And it looks almost like orange juice rather than that obnoxious bright orange. That you would get from an American MRE. And my hot drink is spiced cider, and it's in the delicious mug. By the way, he put out a video on a very rare ration as far as getting something like that into the US. You'll have to go to his channel to see where that ration came from, as well as what he thought of it. Very enjoyable video, by the way. Well, maybe, Shadow, you might be a night owl. There are some people who prefer to be active at night as opposed to the day. I have a friend who used to live here in Des Moines, but she relocated to Colorado. But she was very sensitive to the sun to the point that she would have to cover herself up like it was cold weather, but just with a light layer just to cover her skin. And she would wear a wide-brimmed hat as well as sunglasses. And when she would go out to do a photo shoot, she would wear a pair of thin gloves to protect her hands because she is that sensitive. Yeah, Spicy, you would be Mo with a set of fins. Is that it? No, Shadow, you might like northern Alaska. Is for a couple of months there, they get no daylight whatsoever or very little. Although in the summer, there are a couple of months where there's almost no darkness or very little. But it rarely gets super hot there. I'm sure it will be the same in northern Canada. Yukon Territory and that area. I prefer cold over hot as well. So there may be times where I may not dress in as many layers as some would, or I just may have to take my cap off just to let a little heat go out of my head. But I will still wear, I have had to send in pictures of my winter coats that I have because they got messed up from not only being dumped on by that water that came through the floor above me and my ceiling, and going through all that material and carrying down all that stuff with it. And then because some of my stuff was put out onto my deck, it rained several times before it was okay to bring everything in. So I may have lost those coats. I don't, one of them is a down one, so I cannot just throw that in the washer and in the dryer. Plus, it's a longer one anyway, it wouldn't fit. I would have to use a large machine and a laundromat. Then the wool coat, I don't know if dry cleaning would take care of it. So I have not heard back from the insurance company what they will decide on those. or if they will just outright reject my claim. And of course, they're still insisting on me having receipts for everything, even if it's a gift or a roadside find or dumpster find in the case of that wool coat, because it was hanging on the side of a dumpster. I had washed it for a few days, and I decided to grab it before a rainstorm so it wouldn't get messed up. So it just happened to be my size, so I kept it. Otherwise, I would have given it to a homeless person. And if I were to claim something that I made, like the 2 tables that I made in shop class, how can I provide a receipt for that when I made it back in the 80s? I have a walnut round table, and then I have a cherry square dining table that I made in shop classes. Now, the fact that I keep most of my food, my long-term storage food, in buckets, the only food items that I lost were some boxes of tea bags that were not inside of a hard container. Well, it may not be diabetes, because that is a function of your blood glucose level, and the pancreas, but heat exhaustion, heat sickness, and heat stroke would be something that you definitely have to try to avoid. And that's where those electrolyte drink mixes or ready-made electrolyte drinks would come in handy during the summer. I have a little Ziploc bag in my EDC bag. I have a few of those little packets in. I have more of them in my bug out bag, and I have, my get home bag. I keep all those in there, and then I have a stash of extras, and my camping food bag has some of those in there as well. But I do like to carry a water bottle of some kind. Yeah, this one, my Camel bottle. They're the double wall kind. It keeps the water colder longer. And I keep them in the fridge. And if I'm going to take one to the mosque and I'm going to be there for a while, I'll throw it in the fridge there. Yeah, spicy, no doubt you would be with the dry heat you got. Because if you're not sweating to cool yourself, then there could be a problem. And of course, Gil of Gray Man Prepping and Camp Patton Family Compound drinks out of a container that would be double this capacity. This holds 750 mil. Which would be not quite a full quart, but he drinks out of a half, when it's almost a half gallon size. he fills that up several times a day, and he's been having a heat wave there in his piece of Idaho. Yeah, you watch his recent live stream, he'll say what the weather's been like and how much water he's been drinking. Yeah, because it has you can take the top cap off of something like that. You can put a big old chunk of ice in it. That will keep the water colder longer. That's what you gotta do. When I go on my family trip on July 26th is when we leave, and we come back August 2nd. So that's an extra day compared to what we've done in years past. That's what my one sister who booked it was able to get. And she booked that last year. No, she booked that 2 years ago. And then last year, one of my sisters booked for next year. So we are still having to book the cabins 2 years in advance. It's still that way. So 8 days, 7 nights. We will be at Lake Icaria. Where my late dad used to camp at since he was a kid, before the lake was created even. It used to just be a campground without a lake, but then the lake was created. And a dam that connects that lake to a river. I don't know what river that is. I would have to look it up, but even after the lake was created, my dad still liked to go there. You know, that is what he knew as a kid, because he grew up not too, he was actually born not too far from there. The town of Corning, Iowa. He was born in a little town called Carbon. It used to be a coal town, hence the name Carbon. But yep, that was his favorite place to go. So there's a memorial bench there that has his name on it. My mom had that done a couple years after he died. So 2010 or 2011, she had his name put on one of the benches that are out there, and the county adds a few benches every year, so more people have the chance to do that. And plus it gives more seating options for people who want to be right up to the water, just to sit there, watch the boats, or watch people, People fish. Or just to watch for wildlife. Occasionally, you might see a deer or three, or you can see birds like hawks or eagles flying overhead looking for a meal or looking for love. But we will continue to do that as long as we can. Whether my one sister who had foot and ankle surgery is able to go, we won't know that because she may have to go back under the knife again because something is not healing right. So it's a kind of a wait and see thing for her. So if she does have to have surgery, someone may have to stay here, just to take care of her until she can get mobile again. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But for those who may wonder why we stay in cabins, my mom, who still enjoys going to the lake, has mobility issues, plus she uses an oxygen concentrator at night. So we need power for that. One of my sisters uses a CPAP, so we need power for that. And it just makes it more convenient for us to do that. We have a place we can, we use 2 cabins usually. Well, the cabins do have electricity. But my sisters do not put a generator in a vehicle. It would just take too much space. And my Opus 600 power station could handle the load, but I would have to put my solar panel out in the morning, to charge it, let it charge up all day. And if it's cloudy and rainy, it's not going to charge as much. If the power goes out for a long enough period of time, And that's the biggest power station that I have. That's the one that I won off of, I think is a Facebook giveaway. We try to condense everything in as few vehicles as possible, just so that we're not taking up the entire parking lot for that particular group of cabins. There are about 6 or 7 cabins that use this one parking area. We don't want to hog all the spaces. So that's why we literally fill the vehicles to the brim. And as far as our food, we take most of the food that we're going to eat during the trip, but there is a grocery store in town, so we may buy some things in town that we did not have cooler space to bring from here, bring from home. Or if there's something that we wanted to pack but forgot it, or we forgot to get that particular item ahead of time, and we get firewood from that location as opposed to bringing our own. Although my one sister does bring some firewood that she collects, we usually just get it from that area. Plus, none of my sisters have a fireplace or a wood stove. Basically, it's just collecting dead, cutting up dead branches, putting them in a bin. Yeah, I have looked at a hand crank generator, but the ones that I have seen on eBay do not have the power capacity that my Opus does. It may have the power capacity that, say, I'll just pull up my Tack Life. That little thing only gives me 156 watts. And also, some of those can be pretty pricey. I just finished off the orange drink. But it would be nice to have something like that where I would not need to use electricity to charge it or to use a solar panel. But that is just not in the budget right now for the capacity that I would like to have. Plus, I don't know how big those things would be, how much space they would take up. So that is another thing that you would have to consider is how big it is going to be, how much space it's going to take up, and if you have to move it, is it easy to move or not? My Opus weighs about 15 pounds. It's probably about maybe roughly 4 to 5 kilos, I think. I don't know what the conversion rate is for pounds to kilos, but I'm just guessing at that. So it's not too heavy, but I would not want to have to carry that thing for several miles. I would be putting it in my wagon and hauling it. I have taken my little tack life and my Oli O station camping. Okay, I guess I was a little off. I was thinking like 2.5 or whatever. So probably about, yeah, maybe 6 kilos. Yeah, it wasn't too far off, I guess. But for just moving it a little, like from where I charge it to where I'm going to use it, yeah, it's not too bad. It has that LifePo 4 battery. So that will last longer than the lithium ion batteries that are in my tack life and my O station. But I'm still very happy to have those. I was happy to have those two. I got those after the 2020 derecho that smacked Iowa and did a lot of damage, downed a lot of trees, knocked us off, knocked our power grid for a loop. I did not have any backup power other than, say, power banks and a couple of really tiny solar panels. Nothing more than 20 watts. And because I don't get good sun here, it's a trickle charge at best. So I got the tack life, then I got a 60 watt solar panel, the Rock Pals. Then I got the O station, but trying to charge that, it would take days and days with what little sun I get. So after I wanted the Opus 600, instead of getting a 100 watt panel, I got a 160 watt panel. I have not tried to put that out yet to try to charge anything off of. And I still have a 50-watt hard panel. But if I wanted to get the best use out of those, I would have to take them down into the parking lot or into the park. And I would have to sit down there with them all day so that no one would take them. But I still wanted to have those panels in case I were to travel with one of my power stations. I could have something to charge it during the day. And then use it at night for recharging my phone or powering a light or something like that. But when you face something like that, you learn what you can do better. You know, this apartment flood, you know, when you go through that, then you realize there are some things that you can do better. I still haven't gotten everything back to where I want because, you know, I just don't know what I can go ahead and get rid of. I don't know if someone has to come here and do another inspection of my stuff that was out here. I had one person came out, she looked at certain items, but she couldn't see everything because a lot of stuff was still on the deck. And no one from the insurance company has come back out here since. I've only been talking on the phone when I can and sending emails. And maybe an occasional text, and that's it. So I just don't know what I can do with certain things yet. I just do what I can, you know, make the best of it. Heck, I don't even know if I'll get reimbursed for that 2 nights in a hotel. You know, I had to put stuff on my bed in order to get nearly everything out of here, out of the, you know, the living room, to finish drying it out, and for the drywaller to come in, do their thing, for the painters to come in, do their thing. And they had to make a couple of extra trips because something was missed. So that's why I'm still doing this setup. I don't even have my other table set back up yet because I don't have everything put back in this place where I want. Yeah, this insurance thing, it's crazy. What we call red tape, bureaucratic mess. Plus, I don't know what the apartment management company plans on if they tell me that, you know, can I go ahead and, do I get rid of certain things? Or, what else they want me to do, I don't know. And I keep telling them, that, even if it's not, they say it's not going to happen, I'm still expecting that they're going to say that they're going to just want to throw a whole bunch of my stuff away without even asking me first. They just, because that has happened to other people in other apartments. One YouTuber had that happen. They got rid of three-fourths of her food preps and other items. But she is now at another place, and she's slowly rebuilding back her stash. Yeah, that really sucked what they did to her at her previous place, so she's glad to be out of there. I think I'm going to go ahead and end this here. Since I have to go I've been sitting too long. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end this one here. I want to thank you all for hanging out with me tonight, checking out this vintage meal. So hope to see you again another time. Thanks for watching, and catch you on the flip side.